Once upon a time, there was a beautiful kingdom where everyone lived in peace. The kingdom was so rich that the king decided to move the capital to the desert. He wanted to show that they were so powerful, they could tame the hot desert sands. The capital was built with bricks of bright blue and yellow, and it had a deep well at its center. From this well flowed all the water in the city, so it became a central square with painted walls and a busy marketplace. The king was proud of his city. Nowhere else in the world could you buy such nice things, see such happy children and eat such delicious food. But one day, a dragon flew down to the city. It landed in the square and opened its mouth. The people screamed and ran away. But no fire came out of the dragon's mouth. You may think, well, what is the problem then? A dragon that cannot breathe fire is no danger. But this monster had something far worse than the hottest fire. He had horrible breath. His breath smelt so bad that anybody who came near it passed out and didn't wake up for hours or even days. So very quickly, the square became empty and the dragon lay down next to the well. "O king, come out and speak to me." The king was very scared, but he did as the dragon said. He held a wet towel over his face and stood very far away, but still he almost passed out from the dragon's breath. "What do you want, O powerful dragon? I can give you gold, silver, whatever you." "I have no need for gold and silver," said the dragon. "What I want is food. And don't give me any of that stupid rabbit food. I want meat." The king told his men to bring the dragon 5 sheep. They did so, and the dragon ate them up one by one. Oh, their bleeds filled the city that night. The king hoped that the dragon would leave after he finished, but the next day, he simply burped and said, "Another one." So each day, a sheep was brought to the dragon, and when they ran out of sheep, they brought him a cow instead. While this all happened, the king tried to solve the kingdom's problems. Because the dragon's breath went into the well, nobody could drink the water that came from it. So they had to buy water from other kingdoms and transport it into the city. But when the other kingdoms heard about the dragon, they no longer wanted to come there, and they charged higher prices, and soon the kingdom was running out of money, too. Of course, many knights came to try and kill the dragon, but each one passed out before they could even scratch him, and the dragon happily ate them up. The king did not like this, but at least it meant that their cows lasted longer. Then, one day, the king found out that they had run out of cows. "There is no other option," he said. "We will hold a lottery with all the people in the capital, and the person chosen will go to the dragon." It was a horrible thing to do, but they had no other choice. The dragon grew angrier every day, and if he wasn't fed, he might use his breath to make them all pass out, and then eat all of them. Nobody could leave the city either because they couldn't afford the water to make the long journey through the desert. So each day, a lottery was held and they chose one of the people in the city to go and be eaten by the dragon. The king tried not to watch, not to listen, but he could not stop thinking about it, and at night he could not sleep. One day, when the king saw which name had been chosen from the lottery, he almost threw up. "It was his daughter, the princess. No," said the king. "I won't allow it." But the people had already heard about the result of the lottery, and they were mad. Their husbands, their wives, their children had already been chosen and fed to the dragon. Why should the king be allowed to say no? The princess heard about this and quietly left the city to go pray. She had cried every day since the dragon came, but today she felt strangely calm. This was the right thing to do, she thought. She would show the city that they were strong. As the princess sat on the sand and prayed, a knight rode by on his horse. She thought he was coming to try and kill the dragon, so she said, "The dragon's that way," and pointed at the city. "But I wouldn't try it. None of the other knights could even scratch him. I don't think anything can kill it." "A dragon?" said the knight whose name was George. He sniffed. "Ah yes. I can smell it. But I wonder why you want to kill him. Dragons are terribly useful. Difficult to tame though. But they can carry heavy things, fly you. Useful? That dragon has turned our water bad, eaten our sheep, our cows, and our people. In fact, he is going to eat me today." "I am sorry," George said. "I did not realize this dragon was causing such problems. And it would be a shame if he ate such a beautiful girl. Let me go and deal with him." And before could respond, George rode into the city. She ran after him but waited outside the square. She could not hear much of what was happening, but it didn't sound like fighting. In fact, he was talking to the dragon. Could it be that this man was a monster, that he was working with the dragon? A few moments later, there was a loud thump, and then George walked out of the square whistling. "Is it dead?" said Sophia hopefully. "Oh no," said George. "Like I said, that would be a waste. He's passed out, and I put a collar around his neck. When he wakes up, he'll do whatever I say." Couldn't believe that he was serious about taming the dragon, but she was so happy that she said, "Oh," and went to kiss the knight's cheek. But when she came near George, she smelled his breath, and it was awful. She passed out and landed with a thump on the ground. "Oh dear," said George. George had beaten the dragon the same way the dragon had beaten the city. He had used his bad breath. Every day, George ate an onion for breakfast, garlic for lunch, and blue cheese for dinner. It was very useful for taming animals, but not so helpful for his love life. George went into the square and waited for the dragon to wake up. When he did, he roared at George, but the knight said, "Remember, I can make you pass out with one breath. See that collar around your neck? It's to make sure you're a good dragon. If you're good, I'll let you take it off." The dragon was angry and was about to bite George's head off, but then George opened his mouth and the dragon smelled that mix of onion, garlic, and blue cheese. The dragon fell to the ground. "Fine. You have tamed me. For now." George took the dragon inside the castle and told the king what had happened. The king and his men opened all the windows, stood very far away from George and his dragon, and tried to breathe as little as possible, but still, they cried from how bad the two smelt. "You know, this is a beautiful city," said George. "I think I'd like to stay here if that's all right." "No, no," said the king. We're all too afraid of the dragon still. If that collar broke, what might happen? No. It's better that you leave. In fact, if you leave, I'll make you a saint." When the princess woke up and found out St. George was gone, she cried. "Don't worry, my dear," said the king. "There are plenty of handsome knights for you to marry." "No, I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm so happy he's gone. Father, he smelled worse than your feet."